Most people believe something must be done before potatoes can grow. The soil must be turned, broken, improved. But the old Irish fields tell a different story. They say the work was already done, not by hands, but by time. And that disturbing the ground was never the beginning. It was the mistake.
Irish farmers did not prepare soil the way we imagine today. There was no spring ritual of loosening earth, no neat rows carved into obedient ground. What they had was often thin, compacted, tired soil, land that had already given everything it could. And they left it alone. Not because they didn't care, but because they understood something we forgot. Life does not begin underground. It begins on the surface. Every time soil is turned, something quiet is broken. Moisture escapes. Fungal threads tear apart. The slow architecture built by worms collapses. The land must start over again. Irish growers couldn't afford that delay. Instead of digging, they trusted the ground as it was. Compacted soil held water longer. Undisturbed layers stayed cool. Microbial life remained intact, working patiently beneath the surface long before planting day arrived. The soil was not an obstacle, it was a memory. By refusing to turn it, they allowed life to continue uninterrupted. Worms moved upward. Fungi stitched pathways through clay and sand. Decay fed structure. Structure fed growth. Modern gardening teaches us to fix soil first. The old method assumed soil was already alive if you didn't interfere. And strangely enough, potatoes responded better to respect than to force. The most shocking part of the old method wasn't the lack of digging. It was where the potatoes were placed. Not buried, not tucked into holes, simply laid on the surface, resting where soil and air met. Irish farmers spaced them generously, knowing potatoes do not compete well with crowding. There was no urgency to hide them underground. The earth would come later, slowly, naturally. At first glance, it looks wrong, exposed, vulnerable. But biology was already prepared. As the seed potato warmed, it sensed light, moisture, and life beneath it. Roots reached down into cool, undisturbed ground. Shoots reached upward, searching for cover. Growth moved in both directions, exactly as the plant evolved to do. Nothing was forced. Gravity settled the tuber slightly into the soil. Worms moved beneath it. Moisture condensed under organic cover. The potato anchored itself not because it was buried, but because it was welcomed. This placement did something important. It told the plant where not to grow. Tubers formed above the original seed, protected by layers added later. They stayed clean, unscarred, and easy to harvest. The plant never struggled through compacted dirt. It expanded into softness created over time. By placing potatoes on bare ground, Irish growers allowed the plant to choose its own path, and it rarely chose wrong.
Once the potatoes were laid on the ground, the real work began. Not with tools, but with patience. Irish fields were rarely bare for long. Straw from the last harvest, old hay that had lost its value as feed, fallen leaves swept from hedgerows. In coastal regions, seaweed dragged up from the shore, still smelling of salt and tide. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was measured. These materials were layered thickly over the seed potatoes, not carefully arranged, but generously placed. The goal was not precision. The goal was shelter. The organic cover did several quiet things at once. It sealed moisture into the soil, preventing the sun and wind from pulling it away. It buffered temperature, keeping the ground cool during hot days and warm through cold nights. It fed fungi, bacteria, insects, all the invisible workers that turn decay into structure. And perhaps most importantly, it denied weeds their opportunity. Weeds are opportunists. They thrive where soil is exposed, disturbed, and hungry. Thick organic layers offer them nothing. No light, no space, no invitation. What modern gardeners fight with chemicals, Irish farmers prevented with neglect. As the layers settled, they compressed naturally. Rain pressed them down. Time broke them apart. Slowly, the mulch became soil, not imported, not manufactured, but earned. This was not just protection, it was collaboration. The potatoes grew in a world that felt safe. No crusted surface to break through, no competition from aggressive plants, just darkness, moisture, and a steady rain of nutrients falling from above. Nothing had to be controlled. Everything had to be allowed. Modern gardening teaches us to hill soil, to shovel, pile, and reshape the earth around growing plants. Irish farmers did something far simpler. They kept adding what nature already offered. As potato shoots emerged through the mulch, they were not buried under soil. Instead, more organic matter was placed gently around them. Straw, leaves, seaweed, whatever had broken down enough to feed the next layer of life. Each addition served a purpose. Light was blocked, signaling the plant to form tubers above the seed potato instead of near the surface. Moisture was preserved. Soil life expanded upward, following the fresh food source. Roots encountered softness instead of resistance. There was no stress. And stress is where disease begins. Because the tubers never pushed through compacted soil, they grew clean, smooth, unscarred. Slugs and pests were fewer. Rot was rare. The environment around the potato stayed balanced, not wet, not dry, not starved. Harvesting became almost embarrassing in its simplicity. No digging, no broken skins, no damaged crop. The mulch was lifted by hand, revealing potatoes resting where they had chosen to grow. Children could do it. Elders could do it. The soil beneath remained intact, ready for the next season without repair. By adding layers instead of force, Irish farmers let the plant dictate its needs. And the plant responded with abundance, not because it was pushed, but because it was never disturbed.
At the end of the season, there was no drama. No shovels biting into the earth, no bent backs fighting compacted soil, no broken tubers sliced open by sharp metal. Irish farmers didn't dig their harvest, they simply lifted it. When the leaves yellowed and the stems fell back toward the ground, it was a signal, not of death, but of completion. The plant had finished its work. Everything it needed to give was already waiting beneath the mulch. So they pulled the layers aside by hand. Straw first, then leaves, then the darker, crumbly layer where last season's matter had quietly turned into soil. And there they were, potatoes resting on the surface of the earth as if they had been placed there deliberately. Clean, smooth, dry, untouched by blades or bruising. Often clustered generously, sometimes absurdly so. Dozens from a single seed, lying where even a child could reach them. This was not harvesting in the modern sense. It was collecting. The difference matters. Digging is violent. It assumes resistance. It treats soil as an obstacle that must be broken apart to access value. And every year, that violence compounds, compacting deeper layers, destroying fungal networks, collapsing air pockets, and forcing farmers to work harder the following season just to restore what was lost. Lifting did none of that. The soil beneath the mulch remained loose without ever being turned. Worm tunnels stayed intact. Mycelium threads continued running undisturbed, stitching nutrients from one root zone to another. Moisture stayed where it belonged. Structure remained. And something unexpected happened year after year. The ground got better. Where potatoes had grown, the soil was darker, richer, softer. It held water longer but drained excess easily. It smelled alive, not sour, not sterile, but earthy and sweet. The harvest didn't deplete the land, it improved it. This is the part modern systems struggle to explain. In industrial agriculture, harvest is extraction. Nutrients leave the field in trucks, soil leaves in dust, organic matter disappears. The land must then be fixed with fertilizers, amendments, and mechanical intervention just to keep producing. In the old Irish method, harvest was a transition. The crop left, but fertility stayed. Because everything that fed the potatoes, straw, leaves, seaweed, stayed too. What wasn't eaten by the plant became the foundation for the next crop. What wasn't broken down by microbes became mulch again. Nothing escaped the cycle. Even failure was gentle. If yields were low one year, the soil was still richer than before. If weather was harsh, the ground beneath the mulch was protected. There was no catastrophic loss, only adjustment. And perhaps that's the real reason this method vanished. It produced food without struggle. It rewarded patience instead of force. It left no visible work for machines to replace. You couldn't sell fuel for it. You couldn't patent it. You couldn't convince people they needed more inputs. All you needed was organic matter, time, and the humility to let soil do what it has always done best when left alone. At the end of the season, the field didn't look worked. It looked rested. And that frightened a system built on the belief that land must be conquered to be productive. Because when harvesting becomes as simple as lifting your food from the earth, it quietly proves that digging was never the point at all.